How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man, and this is my box of old retro game cartridges, specifically Super Nintendo games. Although it was a little bit before my time, these games were a massive part of my childhood, and even to this day I still love indulging in all of its 8 to 16-bit glory. A lot of these Super Nintendo games are actually hand-me-downs from my cousin, who is a lot older than I am, and games like Final Fantasy VI and Super Mario World are just two of many retro games that really left a large impression on my childhood. Along with my love for otaku and anime, it was really these games that helped me cement my love for the otaku world, and has thankfully led me to a position where I can pretty much talk about my love for otaku, anime, manga, games included, today on video for you guys. Fancy that. There's no denying that watching anime and playing video games is probably the most perfect otaku way to spend a lazy Sunday afternoon, and if there's anything better than that, then it's definitely to spend your time playing video games that are based on your favorite anime series. And it seems that especially in recent years, there's been quite a big surgence of anime-based video games to come out into the mainstream. You got all of your anime fighting games like your Naruto Shippudens and your Dragon Ball Xenoverses, all of your action-adventure games from One Piece and Fist of the North Star, and of course you got your colossal cross-collaboration projects where a bunch of characters from a bunch of different famous anime series all come together in an all-for-nothing tournament-esque battle that makes Super Smash Brothers look like a regular downtown bar fight. That's definitely gonna invite some angry comments. But regardless of how you personally feel about the different anime games to come out recently, I feel the general consensus is that a lot of these anime games are a rather modern endeavor to really capitalize on the growing boom of the anime industry, along with the ever so booming gaming industry. But if you know anything about the history of anime games, then you would know that that is not exactly the case. Because on one side of the coin, aka the Western world, the idea of anime games is quite modern, maybe within the last 10 years or so, with games like Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Jump Force. And that's only including direct anime games. You have a lot of anime-based games like Persona 5, Xenoblade 2, and Dragon Quest XI that have really made a name for itself, especially in the West recently. But on the other side of the coin, aka the Nippon side, that doesn't seem to be the case. Anime games have been around for a very, very long time, dating all the way back to the retro game period. Even in my box of old retro games, you got games like the first and second Dragon Quest series, and even Chrono Trigger, which a lot of people will argue is an anime-esque game. And I think the problem between this discrepancy of two sides of the coin is the fact that a lot of these old anime-based games never really made it across the border out into the West. And thus, if you were born and raised in the West, which I assume a lot of you watching this video are, then you probably will have no idea about just how many retro anime games existed in Japan all those decades ago. But then your boy was sitting there one day and thought to himself, why is that the case? Anime has slowly become a universally beloved medium of entertainment, regardless of its quite niche underground subculture that revolves around it. So I decided it would be a really fun and cool and kind of new idea to go out there and try and find some of these old, rare, interesting, and unique Japan-exclusive anime games from the retro period and show it off to you guys to hopefully answer that question as to why these little things never made it out of Japan in the first place. And if any of you watching this video know anything about collecting old retro anime games that are considered unique or rare, then you would know, that shit ain't cheap, bruh! So I would highly appreciate it if y'all smash that like button right now to let me know that you guys actually enjoyed these kinds of videos, so that it makes me feel less bad about the fact that I lost a grand sum of money from my wallet to make this video. But without further ado, let's go and check out just some of the more interesting ones that I managed to get my hands on, and to hopefully figure out why the hell these games never made it out of Japan in the first place. Let's go. But before we talk about all Japan-only anime games, let me tell you about a brand new anime game that is available worldwide on your mobile phones right now. It's called Xenonza, the sponsor for today's video. This unique anime-themed card game is based around AI, as in an AI companion will stand by your side to give you tactics, strategies, and ultimately give you that fat dub. You have 16 different AI companions to choose from based on an interview that the game gives you at the beginning to determine your personality. I got the hot nurse because she's a hot nurse. The more you play with your AI companion, the more it will learn and the better it will get at giving you tips and strategies and considering that this AI is more I than I, all in favor of listening to our hot robot nurse waifu say I. The actual gameplay comes in 3 phases: mana movement, flash, and main phase. With Xenon's unique feature being the mana movement system, which allows you to recycle summon minions from mana and vice versa. Now that's renewability. You can create your own deck from over 500 cards from 7 different categories, and for a mobile game, everything about this just looks so gorgeous, especially my hot nurse waifu. You can play PvP against other AI and other IRL players, and if you get the game right now, you can get your hands on 240 of the 500 cards just from the ongoing events. Now that's generosity. So if that sounds like something that will interest you, make sure to click the links down in the description below and use the hashtag XenonZardACI on Facebook and Twitter to connect with other online players and to show off your hot nurse waifu. Thanks to XenonZard for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the show. The first game we're going to be looking at is Akira on the Nintendo Entertainment System. 31 years after World War III, AD 2019 Neo-Tokyo Psychic Adventure game. Wow, couldn't have said it better myself. This game be out here pioneering the psychic adventure retro game genre. Wow, talk about ahead of its time. This game was released in December of 1988, only months after the release of the highly acclaimed anime movie of the same name, written and directed by original manga creator Otomo Katsuhiro. Man, it's like they knew that the movie was going to do so well that they just had to jump onto that trend before anybody else did. Screw the manga, let's get in on that Akira cash boat. Wow, they really made that explosion sound accurate. I'm actually deaf after experiencing that. In this game, you follow our main protagonist Kaneda as he retells the mysterious and psychic story that unfolds before him and his friends. If you've seen the movie, then you basically know how the whole thing is going to unfold, and honestly, it's a little underwhelming. The whole game is basically a super simplified visual novel containing 8-bit graphics ripped straight out of the movie, bit-crushed sounds, and annoyingly slow scrolling text. Like, what's slower, the new Evangelion movie to be released or loading every single goddamn pixel individually of this text box? Every now and then you can choose an action in a point-and-click game fashion that supposedly affects the progression of the story, but that's basically all the high-octane gameplay that you get to experience in this playthrough. What I don't understand is that this game was probably made because of the massive hype surrounding the movie, so suffice it to say that the majority of the people who went and actually bought this game back in the day did so after they saw the movie or read the manga. So basically your experience of Akira goes from something like this to this. Like, isn't that just disappointing? Akira was one of the most flawless anime movies ever made in terms of composition, animation, and storytelling, so why spend money on reliving that experience through the lens of an 8-bit crushed, low-poly visual novel-looking ass game? The answer to that is so that you can get a shitty, angry video game nerd rip-off video like this in 2020. You're welcome. Next, let's check out JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's just JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I guess I know what I'm getting into then. Maybe it's because the anime has only recently received the boom in popularity it deserved all those years ago, but many people tend to forget that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a rather old series, and unsurprisingly, JoJo games like this have existed since the Super Nintendo days. Released in 1993, this was the first of many JoJo games that never made it out of Japan. This one is basically a retelling of Part 3 Stardust Crusaders, but done in a bastardized turn-based RPG format. Think of the Mother series, but with JoJo characters. So it's nothing like the Mother series. Unlike the Mother series, however, there isn't a whole lot of world exploration, as characters can only move left or right in a horizontal widescreen view. Like, I get that they wanted to go for a cinematic vibe to fit the epicness of the JoJo universe and its characters, but it's kinda counterproductive and restrictive when this game is in a 4:3 letterbox resolution. Like, this game doesn't know if it wants to be in 240p or 4K IMAX. If you don't follow the story or have never read the manga or watched the anime, chances are you'll have no idea where you are or what the hell you're doing, since the JoJo franchise is already confusing as it is. Luckily for your boy, I read all of JoJo on camera, so thankfully I was able to keep track of what the hell was going on in this game. Just barely. The fighting mechanics are quite unique, even for an early 90s JRPG. You got your basic turn-based attacks, but also have a number of different options during battle, like talking, in which a character will say a quote of theirs ripped straight from the manga, which in turn demoralizes an enemy, reducing their MP, or encourages an ally, increasing their MP. I would just love to imagine Jutaro ripping out a yada yada yada, and the enemy just be like, no, It's too epic before he just gets ordered into a bloody pulp. Also, I just can't get over Iggy's face. Like, why does he look like a middle-aged bald man with a triple chin? The final boss, surprise, surprise, is Dio Brando, but Jesus Christ, he's a million times harder than I expected. It's kind of impossible to grind in this game considering the limited places you can traverse and the number of enemies that spawn, so the game really requires you to use serious strats or just get really lucky, which couldn't be any more accurate to how Jojo fights actually play out. But for a short and sweet JRPG, this one isn't actually too bad. I had a lot of fun reminiscing certain scenes in part 3, and it's honestly cool to see these 16-bit versions of stands and characters going at it like this. At least with this game, unlike Akira, there were some actual gameplay elements, so I definitely rate this one higher than the previous one, even though this image of Iggy will forever be remembered as the most cursed thing to come out of the Jojo franchise. God help us all. Now, these first two games, while being Japan exclusives, were relatively easy to get my hands across. I believe I paid $10 and $30 for these games separately. But these next two games that I'm going to be showing you guys throws the word affordability far out of the window. Because not only do they make up a large majority of the price tag you see in the title of this video, but were also very, very hard to find at a good price and at good quality. So suffice it to say that these next two games are either really rare, not many copies of it were made, or it's like a combination of the two, which I am most likely putting my chips on. But luckily these two games are based off anime series, which I personally adore to bits, so it wasn't as much of a sting to my wallet as it probably should be. I'm just kidding. It was still a massive sting. First, let's look at this game, Yu Yu Hakusho Makyo Toitsusen for the Sega Mega Drive. Now, I personally never really grew up or owned any of these Sega consoles like the Genesis or the Dreamcast or the Saturn, let alone the Mega Drive. Did everybody have that one friend that just owned all of the Sega consoles? Like, they were so anti-Nintendo that you would have thought that their dad was like secretly the president of Sega or something. And yet, even though I personally had a friend like that, I didn't know anybody who owned a Mega Drive. But even though I missed out on the Mega Drive days, I wasn't shy of games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Super Smash Bros. So when I found out that this Yu Yu Hakusho Mega Drive game that cost me over $100, yes, you heard me correctly, was in disguise a fighting game involving Yu Yu Hakusho characters, I was both excited and really nervous at the same time. Because we all know how lopsided the quality of retro fighting games can be. Sometimes they're absolutely incredible, like the aforementioned Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter series, and then sometimes you get Shaq Fu. God save us all. And so I ever so cautiously popped in this 3-digit anime game cartridge into my Sega Mega Drive and popped it on, and let me tell you, this game is fucking awesome. Not only do all the playable character sprites look clean, but the controls are super smooth and responsive, even when you play the 4-player Battle Royale Tournament Arc game mode, which is literally just anime Super Smash Bros. In 16-bit format. The music and sound effects slap, and if you're a fan of Yu Yu Hakusho like I am, you can't help but get excited every time you see your favorite character pulling their signature moves. I think my favorites are definitely Togoro's finger flicks, Kuwabara's Reiken, and of course, Yusuke's Ray Gun. I mean, come on, boys! I was hoping that when Toguro does the finger thing that the enemy's head explodes like in that one scene in the manga, but I guess they wanted to avoid slapping the R18 logo all over this already niche game. Where is that Mortal Kombat gore password secret when we need it? Again, I'm really surprised this game never made it out of Japan, because even if you're not exactly a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, I think a lot of people can have fun with a game like this, especially back when it first came out. And even though the cartridge itself may come at a little bit of a high price today, I definitely think it's a game worth investing in. Now all we need is a game like this, but with Hunter x Hunter characters. Like, I think everybody watching this video can agree, that would be epic as hell. Which leaves us with the final game that I would like to talk about, and I've saved the weirdest, rarest, and most unique, and probably the coolest anime game for last, because, oh man, I have so much to talk about with this game. While the series that this game comes from may not be the most well-known or mainstream anime series that every single otaku has ever seen, and the game, which I will be talking about right now, may really be something that tests the definition of what a video game actually is, I just wanted to buy this personally and show it off to you guys, because not only do I think it is a really cool piece of anime memorabilia, but it's also based off an anime series which I have strongly advocated for, and I believe is an absolute 10 out of 10 and a masterpiece. Let's talk about Serial Experiments Lane, on the Sony PlayStation.
To call this a game is a challenging notion in and of itself, as much like the original 1998 anime series of the same name, this Serial Experiments Lain game is extremely confusing and game-breaking in terms of its meta. Your simple goal in this game is to go around on the wired, aka the internet, and collect data to organize into a chronological order to complete the story that is unfolding, and piece together the mysteries of what happened to everything and everyone in between. In other words, the gameplay is basically you going around listening to audio, watching video footage, and collecting memories to basically make your own story and conclusion.
And would you believe me if I told you that this physical copy of the Serial Experiments Lain game on the PlayStation cost me $500?
The pain you felt, I felt it too.
Now, as weird and abstract as this quote-unquote game is, being a massive fan of the Serial Experiments Lain anime series, I immediately got invested and hooked into this whole thing. Much like the anime series, the game has this very unsettling atmosphere with its visuals and audio, especially considering that the only piece of music in the entire game is this creepy music box sounding piece that plays during the main menu. Yeah, what you're looking at right now is the main fucking menu to this game. Every other time you'll be hearing staticky audio files or disturbingly silent and spine-chillingly off-putting anime footage to try and figure out basically what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. I mean, just take it from the first lines of the opening song of the anime.
And you don't seem to understand.
Now, if that doesn't perfectly sum up your entire experience with this game and series, I don't know what will. Honestly, this is probably one of the most trial and error heavy games that I have ever played. There is no explanation, nothing to hold your hand, and honestly, without an online guide, I don't know how anybody would have the time to figure out what to do in this game. I mean, to just get through the first part of one of the many endings, because yes, this game has multiple fucking endings just to screw with the player, you have to get video files, but you can't access the video files without updating the audio interface, but in order to fully update the audio interface, you have to collect these digital card keys, but in order to get these digital card keys, you have to do a sequence of arbitrary and complex selections on a main menu that doesn't tell you anything about anything. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, I went on to the Wikipedia page of the Serial Experiments Lain game and saw that even the creators don't even call this a game, but rather a psycho stretch game. Like, what drugs are they on, and where do I get some for myself?
But all in all, much like its anime counterpart, this game has aged incredibly well. The visuals and audios are pretty top-notch for a game that's over 20 years old at this point, and the themes that are covered in the narrative of the series is still very much relevant to this day. And since the narrative of the game is completely independent from the anime, even those who have never seen the anime can start playing it immediately. That is, of course, if you're a true gamer girl, I mean psycho stretch wearer girl like myself. Otherwise, it might be best to just skip over this one to save your money.
So $1,000 and many hours of gameplay later, let's roll it back to that first question that we proposed at the beginning of the video. Why are so many retro anime games Japan exclusives? It's strange having played these 4 anime games that were all good, some of them even being fantastic, that also have very much a universal appeal that a lot of Westerners can, I'd say, very easily get into now and back in the day. So I guess the only conclusion we can really come up with is that anime in the West just wasn't as well appreciated as it was in Japan back in the day. And it's only now that in the year of 2020 that anime games have finally gained the appreciation they deserve and have finally maintained a footing in the wider gaming industry. Too bad that that rising level of appreciation has resulted in some really mediocre anime games like One Piece World Seeker. Oh god, I'm gonna get some hate for that statement. But all in all, anime games are definitely a really cool piece of not only anime and video gaming history, but also really cool pieces of memorabilia to collect. I mean, you better bet your ass that I'm gonna be bragging the fuck out to my friends about the fact that I own a pristine copy of the Serial Experiments Lain PlayStation game that is, by the way, has the instruction manuals and everything in it. That's fucking cool. But I guess let me know in the comments below, which anime retro game is your favorite? If it wasn't the 4 that I introduced in this video, maybe you played a retro anime game back in the day that didn't get enough appreciation and love. So it would be cool if you can leave it down in the comments below so we can all check it out for ourselves. And here's a question for all of you. If you could get any anime series turned into a retro anime game, which anime would it be and why? As I said during the Yu Yu Hakusho portion of the video, I think a Hunter x Hunter tournament arc style fighting game would be fucking epic, and I'm surprised they haven't really made that yet. Now if you excuse me, I gotta go finish the 3 other endings to the Serial Experiments Lane game, because just finishing one ending literally took me like half a day. God damn it, experimental anime games, why you do this? In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, like your favorite if you enjoy, subscribe for more anime banter, keep watching anime. Ciao ne!